We all have our demons.
Not enough pain.
What is up, YouTube? It's Kael'Rien. I'm here to have a short video today. Been doing some Antorus, just got Varimathras down literally minutes before recording this. Super excited, but you might be wondering, got my WoW logo up, but I appear to be looking at Hearthstone. Yes, I am looking, in fact, at Hearthstone, for a very important reason today. Over on my WordPress blog, link in the down there part, I've been pretty open. That was a weird sentence cadence. Anyways, I've been pretty open about the fact that I believe that Blizzard is attempting to pull a fast one on us with regards to Battle for Azeroth, both in terms of the lore implications, but also in terms of release. BlizzCon this year was rather interesting in that for all of the information we've received from Blizzard about World of Warcraft over the last year and a half, pretty much ever since Legion launched, and even a few weeks before, really, the announcement of Battle for Azeroth was notably a little bit light. Now, I think that was purposeful. Firstly, there were a lot of potential spoilers that could have been dropped at BlizzCon that were not. They talked about Silithus without talking specifically about what Sargeras does to it. We'd already, of course, data mined the wound, but we didn't have full confirmation other than the incorrect text on the Sargeras t-shirt, which I own and is very comfortable. But outside of that, we didn't have any direct confirmation of what actually happened to Silithus. Now that we have it, and now that 7.3.5 is on PTR, it looks like things are falling into place. Now, when I initially speculated on my blog that Battle for Azeroth, or at the time what I thought was 8.0, some old god, Veil of Shadows or whatever, right? I had speculated that a release date of May 1st could potentially happen. Now, this was a wild estimate on my part based on effectively looking at a calendar and saying that if we get a raid tier that lasts 22 weeks with Antorus and it launches 11 weeks or 22 weeks after Tomb of Sargeras had launched, then that's where we would be. And then there were a couple of weeks of padding in there for an 8.0 pre-patch where we could play ostensibly whatever features I had speculated would be in there. New race class combos, because that Veil of Shadows leak I read, I was super kind of stoked about a Pandaren Death Knight. Not gonna lie, I really did want that, but that's not the world we live in. But this is the world we live in, and I do actually think that we, earlier in the summer rather than later, are going to be playing Battle for Azeroth. Now, to address why I'm in Hearthstone, if you've read Wowhead today, that's Wednesday, December the 6th, you've noticed that with the update to the Hearthstone client for the Hearthstone expansion, Kobolds and Catacombs, that there is a new card back available in the game. If we flip through all of these options, all of these seasonal ones, all of these monthly participation ones, we arrive at these promotional card backs, like Call of the Void, Call of the Light, Heroes of the Storm, which is a pretty cool one I hope to earn someday. Need to play some more HOTS. But Azeroth is burning. This sepia tone doesn't quite do it. What happens if I open this up? Oh, shit. Why, that appears to be war-themed. Red and blue flag makers. There's a little blue flag with an alliance head there, and a red flag with a little horde emblem there. Interesting. So, okay. Now you might find yourself thinking, Kale, listen. So, developers put things in the game all the time, right? Sure. Okay. Let's go with that for a second here. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind with a Hearthstone change that seems to include this item very specifically. Hearthstone is a game that receives very rapid updates and expansion releases, unlike any product that Blizzard has. Hearthstone in the last year has received about 4 major updates that have included new cards, new gameplay, etc. You would find yourself thinking that any number of different expansions could be used to implement new card backs. While we don't know what's coming in 2018 for Hearthstone, BlizzCon pretty much just confirmed Kobolds and Catacombs, which comes out tomorrow, which is why we're having this discussion over Hearthstone here today. What we do know is that whatever the plan going forward for Hearthstone is, this year, 2017, the year of the Mammoth Plan, has made it very apparent that the Hearthstone team's intent is to release multiple expansions a year, usually around 3 expansion sets and probably a single-player adventure mode of some sort, like One Night in Karazhan or the whole Frozen Throne thing. So, that then begs a question. Knowing that and contextualizing the Hearthstone release dates, why is it the Kobolds and Catacombs release that is getting a Battle for Azeroth card back? Now, it's a good preparation measure. The expansion is announced. We know what's coming out. We know the themes. If this had been released before BlizzCon, this would have fueled a pretty massive amount of speculation, one can imagine. But at this point in time, we know the expansion's coming. We know what the theme is. Releasing this into the game doesn't necessarily ignite some great catastrophe of feedback. It's just a card back. We can see it. We know what it references. That's all well and good. Now, let's go back to WoW's updates for a second, because I did briefly gloss over the fact that 7.3.5 is on the PTR. Today, the updates included the patch info splash screen that players will see when they log into the patch for the first time on live servers, indicating what the features of the patch are. So there's definitely some interesting info there. Basically, the biggest card calls out the level scaling changes for 1 to 100 gameplay, or 1 to 90 more accurately, because you still have to do Draenor, as is, unfortunately. No, what am I kidding? 90 to 100 in Draenor is great. Anyways, not the point. So with the 7.3.5 splash screen, in addition to the leveling changes, there is one interesting thing that they have called out. The Legion Epilogue. Now, that is an interesting choice of words. This is the first version of the splash screen implemented in the patch. The patch is not marked as release candidate yet. So this could change, and may very well change. This might be a misdirection on Blizzard's part, because they know we watch this shit and we love it. But Epilogue, to me, indicates that what we are seeing is the last patch of Legion. There might be systems patches, there might be some updates and hotfixes. We might get a 7.3.8 that does some tweaking or whatever, right? We don't know for sure. But Epilogue suggests finality. Epilogue says there will be no more Legion content. Now, my first reaction to this is a slight bit of disappointment. Battle for Azeroth is exciting. I am very, very heavily anticipating playing the new expansion. I like the direction the WoW team has gone in Legion. It has restored a lot of the faith that I lost in the game personally during Warlords of Draenor. And it has given me reason to make WoW my primary play MMO, which is really good because over the summer, Stormblood over in Final Fantasy XIV land was really gunning for me hard. So I'm happy to be back in WoW land pretty firmly, Little Final Fantasy 14 on the side here and there. WoW doesn't get too jealous. It's fine. It's fine. But to my point for this whole video, now that I've talked for, I don't have a timer on my video, but for a hot minute now, we seem likely to be getting Battle for Azeroth a lot sooner than we thought. We've got a card back already implemented that, if I had to guess, was going to be for a Battle for Azeroth Collector's Edition, much like going all the way back in my collection to this Warlords of Draenor card back that I got for that Collector's Edition, or this Overwatch one from the Origins Edition, or this Legacy of the Void one, which looks awesome, that I got for StarCraft 2, Legacy of the Void. Not the point. So, implementing this early only really makes sense if Hearthstone either doesn't have a lot of releases planned, which, let's be real, Hearthstone is a motherfucking cash cow for Blizzard. There is not a snowball's chance in hell that this game is not going to have at least 1 or 2 releases in the first half of 2018. So let's tie that all together, right? We've got a 7.3.5 PTR over on the test servers for WoW, telling us that 7.3.5's story, the cleansing of the wound, is the epilogue for Legion, the last story content. So we go and we do that, and with that update has come the new Sargeras' sword model. It's still the same sword, it just doesn't glow red anymore. Boom. No more speculation. It's changed. That's done. So we have corrupted artifacts and possibly corrupted players, as I've talked about in videos and blog posts this week already. Interesting. So we got some developments there. Now, we also have a card back in Hearthstone hinting at Battle for Azeroth far earlier than one would expect. And we have a June release date targeted for Before the Storm, the novel that sets up the expansion. Tie that all together, here's what I see. I read a little blog post from Broxamar, I'll put a link in the down there part as well, that really sparked interest in me, because my initial May 1st estimate was very, very insane. It assumed that Blizzard would be able to test and balance an expansion in more or less about 5 or 6 months. Here's the thing, though. I do think that they are actually going to pull that off, because here's what I see happening. We're going to have an alpha test in January. That's speculation on my part. I want to be clear about that, but I would be willing to put money on that, and I live in a gambling town. I can do that. I can do that. So, alpha test in January. Beta test maybe around March. You do a focus test, you get people to play Horde, you get people to play Alliance. There's only 3 zones each. You got to go through that leveling experience. You can always give pre-mades that start at different levels to try out different zones to focus test what you really want. Blizzard's Q&A team is world class. They catch a lot of things in-house. The PTR process really is more for balance and for little things that a group of QA testers who are really analytically breaking down everything might not quite catch. More eyes is always good. I'm willing to bet that Broxamar's guess of a late June release for Battle for Azeroth is true and is probably going to happen. Now, I hear you already queuing up those comments saying the novel releases in June. Yes, it does. That's true. However, there's nothing that says that the novel has to be out substantially before the game. In the past, sure, there's been a month or 2 lead time. That's fair. It's a fair point to make. But I think that Blizzard wants to defy expectations here. As I've said and written about in the past, Battle for Azeroth feels ready. Now, there's obviously a lot of stuff that does need to be tested, but what we got to play at BlizzCon was pretty fucking polished. That game felt complete. I've played a lot of BlizzCon demos. That was my 8th BlizzCon. I've been there for every expansion announcement save for Wrath of the Lich King. And that was a feature complete, fully concepted, fully realized expansion idea. Level scaling, or item scaling rather, so the item level squish and reduction, all of that was in there and complete and felt correct. The zones that we played had no placeholder art assets and very, very minimal rough edges that would be smoothed over relatively quickly. They weren't incomplete. There were just a couple little buggy spots I noticed personally. The dungeons felt complete and balanced, the two that we got to play. The art assets for the new sort of like Kultiran humans and the Zandalari trolls, those were complete as well. They weren't placeholder trolls or human models. Those were completely created. They were done. Sorry, my headset turned off in the middle of that sentence, so I got all freaked out. So, if I had to guess, late June makes perfect sense for Battle for Azeroth, with perhaps an early to mid-June 8.0 pre-patch. What's going to be in that pre-patch? Well, given that we've seen complete allied races, 4 of them, not all 6, but the 4 that we can get from what we understand without going to Zandalar or Kultiras, I think that our pre-order bonus and a part of our 8.0 lore and sort of that tiding over content is going to see us be able to start rolling those allied races. Because look at it this way, right? Once 8.0 comes around, what's the incentive to go back and continue doing Antorus unless they add something new to it? Or Tomb of Sargeras, or Nighthold, or any of the Legion content. There is some incentive, don't get me wrong. Doing those raids will probably still serve some purpose. Transmog farming, Violet Spellwing, mounts in Heroic, anything of that sort. But what we're more likely to see happen is to have a pre-patch that allows us to roll allied race characters, start those out at level 20, and get to leveling. Because if you want to be a Void Elf Warlock, or a Lightforged Draenei Paladin, or I just totally blanked on the Horde races. A High Mountain Tauren Druid, or a Nightborn Mage, I don't know, let's throw that out there. Then what better time to roll that than prior to the expansion? If that's what you want to main and you want those sweet Heritage armor sets, that's going to be the way to do it. And if I'm Blizzard and I'm thinking about ways to maximize subscription time, subscription revenue, and player interest, a pre-patch that allows players to start leveling and gives them the most convenient excuse to get out there and get into that new scaling leveling content, that fits perfectly with my business incentive. So I will stake a claim and say that by the last Tuesday of June, we're going to be playing Battle for Azeroth. Not just an 8.0 pre-patch. We're going to have Collector's Edition boxes. We're going to have those downloads complete. We're going to be in Zandalar. We're going to be in Kultiras. We're going to be fucking each other's shit up. And probably being puppets of the old gods, because that's my theory. That's where we're going. I'm confident in that. I'm still confident in that. And I am also confident in the fact that by that last Tuesday of June, we're all going to be in this together. Unless you're Horde, in which case, I will probably kill you. But that's it for the video here today. If you liked it, make sure to drop down a like and a comment down there. Hit that subscribe button. If you want more content from me, I've got links in the down there part for my Twitch channel, 6 nights a week, Monday through Saturday. My WordPress blog, 5 posts a week on average. Depends on how good I am about writing. And then, of course, there are more YouTube videos for you here to watch. I also got Twitter comments over at KaleRien. And for those prior to, my Twitch address is twitch.tv/KaleRien. And my WordPress is kalerien.wordpress.com. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Until then, take care.
Thank you.